back on Open Line on a Wednesday night with Tessa Del Pino, or should I say that Tessa Lemos Del Pino and Bethany Jackson. They are both with Tennessee Justice for Our Neighbors, a group that is helping our immigrant neighbors assimilate and get settled, and really trying to give them just a helping hand as they navigate what you mentioned is a very complicated process. Give me an idea of that process in the year 2022.
So a typical client for us would be, for example, somebody who qualifies for a U visa. So that's a person who's been a victim of a really serious crime. It can be domestic violence, it can be armed robbery. And they come to us and we help them complete an application, and that involves an explanation of what happened to them and how that impacted them.
Right. Now, let me I'm sorry to interrupt. Does this happen maybe already when they're here in the United States, or something that's happened back home? This is something that they came here and all of a sudden something terrible's happened.
Right.
So to qualify
the crime has to happen in the United States. And the reason that this exists is because we want to encourage cooperation with law enforcement. So a part of the application is we have to have a certification. If it's a crime that happened in Davidson County, we have to have either the Metro Police or the Davidson County DA sign off and say this person was a victim of a serious crime and they cooperated. So we put all that together, and we often have clients who've suffered pretty severe physical injury or emotional trauma, and so we add all that evidence, and then we file it, and then they wait about 5 or 6 years for a decision.
From whom?
From the federal government. So the agency in charge of making the decisions on those types of applications, the kind of work we do, is the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, and they're
understaffed, underfunded. I'm just going to say, obviously,
exactly.
Overwhelmed with, okay. 5 to 6 years. How do you explain that? I mean, that's got to be frustrating, but I know some folks would say, that's fine, I will wait. Because to them, it's worth it, right?
Yeah. And also, I would say our clients are amazingly resilient. They're used to dealing with obstacles and difficult situations, and I think for a lot of them, just knowing that there is something down the road waiting for them, they're willing to wait.
You mentioned the obviously you're helping them with the legal aspect, but being based where you are, and obviously you're networking with a lot of other nonprofits and services that might be available out there. But you talked about emotional trauma. The fear, too, the language barrier, all of that, I can imagine would just keep a lot of people away. I mean, just kind of in hiding. I don't want anyone to tell me I'm doing something wrong, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. I don't want to stick my head up because then I might get caught, or something might happen to me.
So how do you deal with that aspect of it, and how do you work with other groups out there to kind of
we partner with other groups a lot. We have forums with other groups. We co-refer to each other. But I want to go back to your point in terms of people not wanting to stick their neck out. And they're often the target of the crime because of their immigration status. So, and so that's when you will sometimes have domestic violence where someone will, a partner will, say they won't sponsor the person for their immigration application. And
they'll use it as
a weapon.
As leverage, just to...
Exactly.
That's just brutal when you think about it. And, that happens, and then the fear and the hiding and on and on and on, right? In recent years, what have you seen as far as the trend? I mean, Nashville is growing. We're becoming more diverse. We already have a really uniquely diverse population, especially along the Nolensville Pike corridor, which culturally is just... You gotta get and visit and check it out. I mean, it's just fascinating. The food, I'm glad I don't work near that area because it's so good. But tell us about that, how Nashville's changing and what you're seeing as far as trends.
Well, as Bethany mentioned, up until recently, the majority of our clients had been from Latin American countries, Spanish-speaking countries, but with the influx of the Afghan evacuees, they are in a unique, and Bethany can say more about it, but they're in a unique status where they really require immigration legal services, and all of a sudden our city had 550 or so individuals who were on a temporary parole status here who would need to file for asylum within 1 year of arrival in the United States. And because some folks went to a base and were transferred from state to state, their clock was already ticking 5 or 6 months before they even met us.
Right. Gotcha.
So that has been a major shift in the clients that we're seeing.
They're Afghan families, individuals, what?
Both.
All of the above.
Yeah.
What, I mean, old, young, everything, right?
I think they skew young. We're seeing a lot of people that are 20, 30.
And these are folks who obviously, with our withdrawal from Afghanistan last year, the big push was saying, hey, we need to get our troops out, but we need to get the folks who have been so helpful and been by our side,
Right.
Who need to escape the Taliban, right?
Yeah, at great risk to themselves. They were supporting the NATO and the U.S. military in Afghanistan. So many people, we hear stories of people just, when Kabul fell to the Taliban, just leaving the tea in their cups and running for the airport. It just was a real humanitarian disaster.
How would you grade how Nashville is doing with that so far?
Nashville, I think, has been amazing.
Really? Good.
Yeah. Very welcoming.
The coalition of providers, because this was such a unique situation and because the resources were so limited, anyone who was serving this community, whether it's the resettlement agencies, the legal service providers, We Go Transit, United Way, everyone who was involved and touched the lives of these folks in some way that had some way that they could help has come together, led by also by the efforts of AMAC, and had weekly meetings initially, and met regularly just in terms of what are the hurdles that folks are seeing, how can we overcome them, and just trying to work as efficiently and cooperatively as possible, and just knowing, okay, this is what you do, this is what you do, let's all, if there's an issue around transportation, let's send them to that person.
Yeah, just kind of trying to get organized with all of that, and that's got to be a great feeling for
it's
them
been amazing
coming here and getting, like, okay, people are here to help. I mean, it's even housing, obviously, right? You have to get them, maybe in temporary lodging initially, and then work down the road.
So the resettlement agencies, Catholic Charities and NICE, play that role. And they've done amazing work. It really, like Tessa said, people have really come together around this group. But there's still not enough resources, and there's still, I want to say too, just people in the community ad hoc are adopting Afghan families, and Nashville is a place where we have some, we go as a partner in this, but there are some parts of town that there aren't great bus routes, especially in more sort of far-flung areas where the housing is more affordable. So these citizens of Nashville have just adopted Afghan families, and they're helping them, do their shopping, get their kids enrolled in school. It's been, I think, a great experience to watch the community come together around them.
And because we were having these meetings, we would realize, a lot of, initially some folks had to be set up in Airbnbs because you would have a large family of, 6 to 9 people, and you can't put them in a 1-bedroom apartment. And so in having these meetings, it became evident that a bus stop needed to come to one particular area, and We Go made it happen.
Yeah, that's fantastic. All right, we got to take another quick break, everybody. More of our discussion after this.